Cool. Sounds like it's going now. So,
Hey,
hi, Sean. Good to see you.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I don't know, do you want us to start at the beginning, or where would you like to?
Start at the beginning of how I managed to live the dream.
Yeah, sure. That sounds ideal. Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. When I was at uni, I started a job at the Harry Potter tour.
Wicked. So what did you study at uni?
I did fine art, but
Nice.
photography, but I did a bit more painting really than photography, and because it was fine art, it was all the same. So I did that, and the studio tour opened. Well, they started advertising for tickets, and I was like, oh, I wonder if they've got any jobs. Got a job. Because I loved Harry Potter, and then realised, oh, this is what I'd like to do. So I was just kept my ear to the ground and was just going through university. And then one day I was in the model room with that big model of Hogwarts, and somebody was talking to a visitor, and they called me over and were like, Charlotte, these people, their son is a prop maker. And I was just like, oh, great. Thank you for pointing them out to me. I'd love to chat with them. So we swapped, and then they were talking about their son being like this amazing prop maker, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, it's a shame that, he's not here, because I'd love to talk to him. They were like, oh, no, he is. So then I was like, oh, great. So I went and spoke to him, and he was just super kind, chatted for ages, and I was really cheeky. Found him on LinkedIn, asked for some advice, and he ended up actually sending me some unit lists. So I just emailed like 150 people, got one reply, went and had an interview with them, and then they were like, oh, I'm not hiring, but my mate is, and that was it. Got onto Tarzan, started there.
Wicked. And that was with Pierre, was it?
It was with Pierre, yeah. But my contact with the person I spoke to was Jim Barr. I didn't see Pierre that much because he was actually doing Star Wars and Tarzan at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So the Harry Potter Studio Tour is awesome as well, for showcasing what people do in film. So I would have given you a really good sort of idea of. I don't know. Would you say it would give you a realistic expectation of what to expect, or were you a bit shocked when you first got there?
I mean, I think that the tour is designed obviously to make everything really romantic and wonderful, isn't it? Yeah. And Harry Potter is one of those unique things, a bit like Star Wars. It's like if you get on it in the beginning and you go the whole way through, that happens every now and then. Like it doesn't happen that often. So like Harry Potter kind of, and as like a Harry Potter fan anyway, I just thought like, oh my God, it's amazing, because it was just sort of like swept up in it. Lots of it was pretty accurate, but also I have learned everything about woodwork or metalwork or like working with materials like that at all. I had no training whatsoever, and I had to learn that on the job, which I've always found super intimidating. Always felt like I've been winging it, but that I had no real expectations or like ideas of what that would be at all.
Yeah,
I feel like I went in being like, cool, I'll paint stuff, but then paint is totally different as well.
Yeah.
I kind of went in totally blind, and I have no idea how I managed it. Still don't know.
Did you? Yeah, no, you've done really well as well. So I'm really impressed. But and also you obviously had a natural bit of a knack or an inclination towards artistic things, so that sort of helps. Obviously through in the end. So when you were emailing through the list, were you looking particularly for prop making, or were you looking for any sort of different department? What was the?
I wanted to do props. I did want to do props. And I wanted to do creatures a lot, but then also at the studio tour, my only experience again of creatures was at the studio tour, and like everything really is a prop, but creatures, they had like this tiny room, and I knew Nick Dudman, and that's the only name I knew, and he came down the floor, and I like interviewed him for my dissertation, which didn't actually, I changed subject in the end, but he was super, super nice about that. And I just was like, creatures, great, goblins, things with prosthetics, cool, but like it's so much more complicated and so many more layers, of course. It's totally different, but that was just my first experience of it, and like every other experience I've had, it has been in the actual industry. So Yeah, I wanted to do props. Was aiming for that. There obviously wasn't creatures in Tarzan. That was in the props department.
Yeah. I think Tarzan was where I first met you, but I didn't work on Tarzan. It was through mutual friends at that time, mate.
We played around.
Yeah, that's right. After work, yeah, we played around as we went to the pub.
The days.
Yeah. What did you do after Tarzan? And how did you find Tarzan as well?
Tarzan was a really weird job. It was in the part of Leeson that hadn't been changed yet. So it was just like constantly waterlogged.
Were you in the boiler room?
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in that building as well. Yeah, it's not ideal.
So weird. It was so weird because like obviously it's not a glamorous industry, but I went full blown headfirst into the non-glamorous part of it. Like I saw the set twice.
Yeah.
Maximum, and like being on the set is what everybody expects film to be, but actually most of the time it's in workshops from my experience.
Yeah, especially if you're a maker.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just a bit like, oh my gosh, thrown in the deep end with this like lack of glamour. But I met Holly there, and Holly and I have just had this super strong friendship ever since. We talk like every single day. So like that's my main memory of it, is that I met Holly, which was great, and it was very wet. Yeah, Tarzan was great. And then I went on to Alice Through the Looking Glass with Green's team.
Oh, wicked. Yeah, nice.
They're so lucky they get really stuck in to like shooting and stuff like that, which is what I really
with the Greens guys do. Yeah, so there's a bit more of a crossover there, is there, from them setting it up to looking after it. Yeah,
totally. They get to be like, it's properly their baby. They'll make the set, work on the set, shoot the set, strike the set.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that.
I would imagine very, very different from, although on Tarzan you were making fake greens for the jungle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in at that point, different techniques, but sort of similar kind of output, I guess. But
yeah, Tarzan was so strange like that. Everything was like all plastic and things, and or like resins, obviously. But then greens, we were like, I remember the most I did on that film was making a fake blossom tree that was getting an actual tree, taking off all the leaves, and then sticking on fake blossoms for like weeks and weeks and weeks on it.
Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah.
Just loads of trees for the first like 2 years of my life making films. Yeah. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Great.
It's funny how even the real stuff they have to modify, because if it's not in the right season or not the right,
Trees last like very short time, change all the time, don't they? So.
Yeah, sure. Interesting. So after Alice, what was next for you?
Oh, I was trying to go through this with my boyfriend the other day.
You don't have to give us an actual, like just whatever comes to mind as the,
the next iconic thing. Yeah. Definitely the next iconic thing was Beauty and the Beast, which I'll never ever get over. I just think it was just the most magical thing in the whole world. So
you're a big Harry Potter fan, but you're also a big Disney fan, right?
Yeah, I'm so basic.
That's good. Yeah, it's all good. I'm the Lord of the Rings, Star Wars fan, and that's the sort of stuff that I've pursued, and I've been lucky enough to sort of come into contact with some of those as well. So it's great I think it's really nice. It's a weird feeling to work on something that you were a fan of when you were a kid. Obviously, like say, it's a mixed bag of emotions, because it's not quite as living the dream as you expect, sort of thing, because it's reality, and reality is very different from dreaming. But it is still does have quite a sentimental feeling about it.
I feel like there's like a turnaround of a couple of months when all of the really, really shitty stuff starts to just leave your memory, and you start to remember all the wonderful parts of it, and like watching the behind the scenes and being like, it's so weird because I was actually there, and you forget that like you had to go out, and I was a runner, so I had to go out and get people's like food when they were doing overtime and stuff like that, and the overtime was hours and hours and hours, and like I'd go to one place and they didn't have what somebody needed, so I had to go somewhere else, and I had to go like buying loads of stuff and all that really stressful stuff where you'd have like a breakdown. That stuff just goes away, and you remember when you went on set sewing and there was like Belle walking along, you just forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mad. Yeah, you forget the literal hours you spent sanding, and you just remember the minutes that you spent on the sets.
Yeah. And you have this,
Or not
I
even
have
hours,
these
like
weird
days,
memories.
weeks even.
Oh my God, yeah. And sanding like will remind me of certain podcasts. Like I'll listen
Right.
to a
Yeah, true.
podcast and remember
Yeah.
something that I was sanding. It's so strange.
Yeah, no. Well, that's it. And maybe someone's standing right now while listening to us.
One day.
I hope they are, because why not? Yeah, you need something to keep your sane sometimes. Like there is the other side of the film industry is there is a lot of like hard graft that goes into it, and I think that needs to be recognized. Quite often watching the making ofs, it's super glamorous, which it's good to show off that side as well, because it is a very magical film, but yeah, a big portion of the time is hard graft basically.
You lose your
people podcasting
a lot.
just do work. Yeah. Yeah.
But you never really stop sanding, ever, no matter how many
you want
jobs
things to look nice and have a nice finish. That's how you achieve that. So yeah. Yeah, facts of life. But yeah, you learn to like it in some ways as well. Like it does become kind of satisfying when she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's those out days, isn't it? Like I'm not in the mood I just need to sort of be on my own. So you just go off and sand, stick your headphones on. I think we're lucky that like most people can't really switch off like that in their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I find. There's sometimes where I kind of crave those sort of jobs, but if you're doing them for too long, I sort of start to lose my, if I'm not using my mind actively enough, then I start to, lose it basically. But then the opposite can be true if you're, like you just mentioned about running on set, like that can be highly stressful, like dealing with lots of different people, and too much of that is it's an overload, so you can have like opposite extremes, and sometimes they can follow each other directly, one from the other as well.
Running as well, I think people underestimate how much responsibility you have as a runner.
Yeah, right.
Having like, you have to sort of know everyone, their name and their face and their code on the radio, and like who, like a, what do they say now? They won't say runner for AD department. What do they say?
Assistant director usually, don't they?
Yeah.
No, oh right. What's that? On set is a AD.
Something or other, but I can't remember, even though I've done it. Yeah, so like an AD running around and like having to know what everybody wants and what exactly the right time to do this, exactly the right time to do that, and having to know what that person likes in their coffee and all this stuff that's like information, and you have to have like complete personable skills, and you're always the first one there in the morning, you're always the last one to leave the set, and as like the sort of runner lowest rung, you get paid the least, and you're the most knackered. And I think there's a lot to say for people that can stick that out for a long time.
Yeah, mad respect. Yeah. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of runners. I don't think I've actually done that role yet. I kind of, because I came at it through university, I kind of got into the more of the making side, and I've sort of stuck to that. But my brother Sam has done quite a bit of running, and I've spoke to lots of people that have. Yeah.
I didn't know your brother did it.
It's such a busy environment as well. Like it is very full on. Like it drains everyone. But especially runners, especially because that you're meant to be fresh faced and new and keen. There's an energy level that being keen all the time, which is quite hard to keep up as well.
Definitely, you're not, and you can't be too over keen as well, because that's annoying.
Yeah.
And you can't be like a big fan of something that you're on, because they're like, do we trust you to be around the talent?
Yeah, right.
Like it's the exact balance. Like I don't think I've got that in me to be an AD. Tried it. I don't know.
It's good to try at least. Yeah. Well, luckily, I mean, it's usually a lot of people use that as sort of a stepping stone to go into what they would like to go to. I mean, some people, climb up the ranks of assistant directing, so good seconds, firsts, and the first AD is a big responsibility on set.
Oh my gosh,
I would say almost more responsibility than a director quite a lot of the time in terms of running the show. But right, so that was for what were you running for? What
I was running
was that?
the Greens department for Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, yeah, cool. Yeah, because we had some mutual friends that was working in the props department on that one, making some of the ice sets and things like that.
Yes, yeah, that was us. So I was really, really lucky because I was in touch with Greens, obviously, because I'd worked with them before, and it was like quite like a dull period for work, and I was just waiting for Beauty and the Beast to start, and I was like, please, can I have a job? Like, when is it starting? They said, well, we need a runner, but I don't want you to be a runner because we want you to dress a set. And I said, well, can't I be a runner until that job becomes available? They were like, oh, yeah, good idea. And then in the office, they were like, yeah, we don't want you to go and do dressing because we want you in the office. And I was just like, oh my God, guys. But it's just when you get like Greens, I really love Greens because everybody knows everybody, and it's like it's very different to props. It's like we all meet because we're individuals that come together on different jobs, whereas Greens just move together.
Right, interesting.
So everybody it's already in like pre-made team, and they will just like divvy you out to different jobs. So we're like, oh yeah, fine. So I got to do both that and making, which was just great.
Yeah, nice. That's great. And it's good, like a bit more like working for a company then, I imagine, would you say? If it's consistent, Yeah,
they're all very close, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after Beauty and the Beast, what came up after that? Did you do more Greens after that with those guys, or?
Yeah, did Greens, did props. The things I really loved because I made friends on them more than anything was like Artemis Fowl, love that, but
yeah, right.
It was good, but Star Wars is always the best, isn't it?
Right, it's definitely the big one, eh? And did you work on any of the previous ones before you joined us on episode 9? That's where we first worked together.
I did some Greens work on reshoots for Rogue One. I did prop making for Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And I didn't do Solo, and then I came on to 9 with you guys.
Nice. Which sets did you dress for Rogue One? Do you remember?
It was in December, and it was supposed to be in like, I think they shot the originals in the Maldives.
Yes, right. So that would be this. Because I'm a Star Wars nerd, I can tell you that's the Scarif base.
That's it.
I could probably remember the code name if I think hard enough about it. But that was. So they filmed a lot of that in Boddington, eh? Were you out in Boddington doing that, or was this in Pinewood?
This is in Pinewood Backlot, and it was I'm really sorry that I've forgotten half of the characters' names.
No, don't matter.
The guy who was blind.
Shit. Can I remember his name?
And Bodhi.
Yeah, he's the guy. I'm one with the force, and the force is with me. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Him and his friend. I can never remember either of their names.
Yeah.
And there was some of Jin.
Yeah.
She was there for a little bit because it was like it was a reshoot as well for Iceland. That was the black sand. It was that set more than anything. So that was my first like proper introduction to like watching a Star Wars film be made, because I saw like stunts and I saw stormtroopers and like explosions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, I wish I could show people that I love what is going on in front of my face right now, because they would appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. But it was a really mild winter, but it still wasn't exactly the Maldives or Bahamas or wherever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. We have a huge crew in Pinewood doing all of the majority of the shooting, and then they take just a few people off to the Maldives to do all the nice things. And I'm almost certain they go over there for a nice little holiday.
Yeah, for sure, the recce.
And with the excuse of shooting, and but it looks great. I really like that scene.
Me too. I really loved that film.
Yeah.
I think it might be the best Star Wars film.
It's my personal favorite, but I'm also slightly biased because I was on that as well from start to finish doing the control panels for that. So that was the first time I got in. I did a little bit on Force Awakens in costume department with Pierre, but starting Rogue One was the first one that I did from start to finish. Solidly control panels, and by the time of episode 9 came about, not much had changed. We were still doing a lot of control panels, but we had a bit more of a tighter deadline when you came. So normally we had a smaller team, just like 3 or 4 of us. Like Tom and Becky have been with me since the start, but for episode 9 we needed to crew up big time because we had two massive sets up first, and yeah, you're one of the ones that came along to help out. Same with Hannah and same with Polly and Niz and Mitch, and Sophie as well. Yeah. So we had a good little team there, eh?
That little mezzanine.
Yeah. How was that compared to Green's control panels? Was that quite?
It's like the exact opposite, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was weird. I mean, Green's, that was my first. I was also on standby for Rogue One. I'd never been on standby before, so that was really like with Green's. We just constantly like, oh, there's an explosion. We need to go and move that and make it look like it hasn't really exploded. So we had to like pull massive like trees out of the floor and like try and replace them and like try and keep up the whole time and digging and shoveling loads of stuff. And it was just so exhausting.
Yeah,
and it's totally different from like the sort of brain power that we needed to use for panels.
Yeah, it was attention to detail rather than physical labor. It was more because everything was straight lines and everything was parallel, and it was so very obvious if things weren't quite perfect, and luckily we came up with some kind of nifty little techniques to get all that kind of done quickly. Is cutting a lot of
dream team.
It was we had, I think for that Star Destroyer Bridge we ended up saying something like 250 panels was the first estimate when it was coming up, and I reckon it was probably more than that in the end by the time they added extra areas and things like that. And you can tell that those bits in the film are lit up like Christmas trees. There's so many LED lights and control panels everywhere, so it's good. At least we got to see it in the film as well.
Yeah, they're super iconic as well though, aren't they? Like,
yeah,
just
it's got
that
design. Weird 70s retro sort of line work style. Doesn't really make any sense, but it looks very Star Wars, so it's good. Like I said, I came to when I applied for the job, I really wanted to do blasters and guns with Mark, and I showed him my portfolio trying to pitch for that. But I'd also in the past done quite a few control panels before that, and he saw that in portfolio, and that was the role that he needed to fill. But in the end, I actually really grew to love that design style and that sort of thing. And I don't know, it was kind of nice.
Niche job as well. Like, what did you do on Star Wars? I made all of the control panels for every ship.
It's pretty easy to point to,
yeah, that very obvious thing that everyone's pretending to type on. I did that.
Totally. Yeah. And as much as obviously the guns get more of the glory because those are the things that people cosplay, and you get lots of the hot toy things, and all the toys get made out of those things, and less so with the control panels. But actually, when you're watching the film, quite often they are interacting, especially for Rogue One. They were sending a lot of data between each other, and they are interacting with these control panels a hell of a lot, and we actually get a decent amount of close-ups. So luckily it's a good job we did do a decent job of them. And they were all straight, and and we had a nice design team to work with as well. Laura Dishington and Hannah Collins were and Dom were designing all those, and we had a nice back and forth on that one.
Did you feel on Star Wars that like of everything really that we make, it made you feel like, oh, I'm definitely like JJ especially made us feel like you are making history? A lot of other jobs are very much like you go in and you do it and you finish it, but it was just like, look, it's a Wednesday treat and a Friday treat, and here are 3 different parties to celebrate this. It was very much just like, you're working really hard, thank you very much, this is the last in the series. And it felt really, really special. It
feels like as much as it was in some ways each film because they quite often led one on to the next with not much of a gap in between for us in prop making, at least. Each one definitely did have a different flavor, and I think some of that was, the director, or some of it was the production crew, or just how it was managed slightly differently each time. But yeah, I would say, like you say, with JJ and just the way that episode 9 was run, maybe just to try and keep crew morale up high, because obviously by that point people have done quite a lot of Star Wars by that point, and probably getting a lot of the same sort of thing. But yeah, they did really well to sort of treat us quite well, didn't we? We had lots of like little food van things, and they gave out lots of t-shirts and things like that.
Unbelievable amount of like crew t-shirts and crew gifts, and
it
was just very much like the party was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there for the party because I went back over to New Zealand yet.
No.
So I missed the rat party, which I am very good about. But I was there for. Yes, I did miss the rat party. But I was there for. Like they did. They did a before we started shooting party, didn't they, as well? Which is like they definitely don't have to do that all the time. And yeah, I've been to the previous rap parties as well. But yeah, this one looked like above and beyond. Yeah.
What was
the episode 8 one was fantastic as well. That was in the Natural History Museum.
Yeah, I was so jealous of everybody on that one.
Yeah. I would say, it's almost like the rap parties are the most glamorous part of the job.
The only glamorous
all part. Over. And you've kind of been fired. And sometimes you haven't worked on it for because you might come for the busiest period, which may have been months before they finished shooting. Because you would have finished Star Wars, because you really just helped us out for that big rush period in control panels, and then you went on to do creature stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which must have been cool.
Creatures was like it was the thing that, apart from props, I wanted to get into in the first place, right? So doing droids, being the only girl in droids, just gave me a thrill. It was just yep, I'm making robots and I'm a girl.
Yeah.
Because everyone would just point it out all the time, and I'd be like,
right.
And that was also like an absolutely magic crew. Just everyone was just super great, and it was really weird, like sharing a workshop with R2D2.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not a lifelong Star Wars fan. I saw The Force Awakens, and that was my first Star Wars. Sorry, world. But I enjoy it like a lot.
Yeah.
Now, especially since I've got like bad experience of it, I really enjoy it. But like that was very still like, oh my word, this is the thing. I've known who R2D2 was all my life without even watching Star Wars.
There you go. It's such a big cultural artifact, that
huge. And everyone loves creatures. Like all of the like talent would come in and see people in creatures, which was really nice, because I was just sort of sanding and like I'm painting and stuff like that. I was just sort of like poodling along, and they'd come in and like talk to Lee, who made R2D2, and it was like just so wonderful to like watch Lee talk about that, because he's just such a massive fan. Oh gosh, my battery's going. He's such a massive fan, which is why he made R2D2 in the first place.
And he's got an incredible TED talk. If you get the chance, it's really cute. He's Do you know him well? Do you know him well, Lee?
Yeah. He makes me really proud.
It'd be really nice if he'd be up for doing a little Skype chat. I'd love to chat to him. I haven't actually met him properly.
I've said this before, but he probably just gets people asking all the time. But yeah, why not? Send him a message.
Yeah.
He's
That'd be good. Yeah, I'd be fanboying over him, but like say, I think Mark said he really liked our crew hoodie designs, because we did all the control panel-y sort of style things.
We're wearing that all day.
That's his vibe as well. So I think we'd actually have quite a lot in common.
Oh yeah, Lee is like, his son is called Luke.
Right, nice, yeah. Well, my brother's called Luke, and he was named after Luke Skywalker as well.
Really?
So my family are a bunch of nerds as well, yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I love that. Lee was like, we were thinking if we were going to have a girl after we had Luke, could we call her Leia? And my wife was like, no. but they
Ray,
just
good Ray. Nice.
Yeah, try and speak to Lee. That would be great.
Yeah. It's good to speak to anyone. It's so nice to get all the different perspectives on things, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do it.
It's fun. It's nice to catch up with you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not that I can
Can't
think of.
get to about half an hour, but it's up to you. We can keep going. It'd be good to talk about what you sort of do on the side a bit as well, because I really like to hear what sort of personal projects people like to get up to.
Yeah, I suppose as soon as I finish work, I will just go and sit at my little desk and do some painting. It's usually I just done watercolors all my life, but I think it's just because it's the easiest to clean up when you're a kid, right? So then, as I've got older, I've just started painting cards for people, and then it became a sort of like, oh, I can't buy another card again because I've painted them now, and I've just sort of got myself in a loop. And then I thought, oh, wonder if anybody would want them, put them on Instagram, and they've just started to sell. And so I've started doing wrapping papers, and I've been doing some recently because I've got a job, and not many people, especially in our industry, are able to get an income right now. I've just been like, where should I put this money that can be helpful? And I thought, even though no political conversation, but the NHS is not a charity, there are definitely spaces where we need to sort of compensate at the moment and put our money, I think. So I've just been doing some thank you cards for people who are working in the NHS and sort of sending them.
Wow. Good on you.
Really cool. Yeah. It's been lovely, and I feel a bit more settled with that. Like, I'm putting money in as well, and I'm like putting in that time so that people can thank people. And like, I've had messages from people saying somebody bought a card and sent it to me, and I'm so touched and like so emotional, because we get clapped on a Thursday and it's a bit frustrating, but someone's actually sent a card to say thank you for your time. So I just feel like, even just bits like that, people can do that.
Lovely. Yeah, no, that's really cool. And so you say you managed to stay working because you've now been working with the BBC, is that fair to say? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, working for the BBC, and it's technically regarded as like an essential workplace because people need broadcasting, like news and things like that. And also, isn't it funny that now we're essential to society when previously we are not essential, and the arts are not essential, and now it's what everybody's seeking. So
interesting. It is and more people have got more time for Netflix than they've ever had, and all the streaming services. So maybe they'll rinse through all the content, and hopefully coming out of this they'll want more films and more stuff made. That's my hope, at least. But well, I think it takes a little while for those things to get going, but no, I'm really pleased that you've managed to get a good spot there and see this through in a good space. And it's so nice that your personal stuff's helping thank people, and it's a really nice cause that it's going for.
It's nice to feel like I can actually, I just feel like there's so much like anxiety around, like, oh my gosh, what can I do to make things a bit better right now, because everyone's so trapped and everyone's so anxious. So many people haven't got any outside space, and I think it's just like reminding people that, hey, I know that you exist and that you're pretty much giving your life for strangers. I think that's massive.
It is crazy, like even over here it hasn't been as so I don't think the hospitals have been as inundated as crazy busy as it will have been over there, but I still feel like it's a high risk situation that you're expecting people to, they are literally the front line,
Absolutely.
And often they're not paid, well enough.
Oh my God, not even
with that,
a little bit enough.
So it is out of the generosity, and it is nice that they're thanking them, but I really think that now they should really think about paying them more,
I mean, it's just like, if you want to try
as the same sort of. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you carry on.
No, you say what you say.
It's like the time that's just like, oh, we'll make cuts for care workers, and we'll make cuts for the NHS, and we'll take out arts and stuff from schools. And it's just like, oh, in times like this, we're just as important. And then the NHS and care workers are more important, which we've all known for a long time, than most other jobs. So like, why have people got to die to this to make sense? Like, it's very strange, but we can't make sense of it. I think you're frozen.
Breaking down a little bit.
Oh,
you still hear me? Yeah, I think we're back.
We
had a bit of a connection dip. Yeah, nice. But yeah, like I say, it's a whole conversation. It's a real chapter of history that we're sort of witnessing. But yeah, I'm glad that you're doing well, and I'm sure, hopefully it'll all work out. Yeah. So awesome. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for coming and have a little chat.
I'm looking forward to hearing everybody else's conversations.
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, it's nice because sometimes you know roughly about what people have done before, but it's nice to sort of hear it from start to finish, kind of thing, a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's been really nice to hear.
I think we all suffer from imposter syndrome as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And you never, like that living the dream. You've never really made it because there's always some, you have to keep going. It's your job. You have to keep working. Yeah. So like, there's never any arrival point. There is always just the journey, and the journey is the fun part, and that's why it's nice to hear people's journeys. Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, Charlotte. It's good to speak to you. Yeah, nice to see you.